Hello, everyone. This is Big Joe Talks. This is Big Joe Talks vlog number three, coming to you from All Talk, the channel All Talk. But today I've gotten some questions on what do I think of the Hulk Hogan documentary on Netflix. I did watch it. It was four parts, and I'll give you a couple of my thoughts quickly. I'm not big on just bashing. Making a good documentary is challenging, but I'll tell you what I think. But before I tell you what I think, please like, subscribe, share, bang the notification bell, share the channel with your friends and family. It helps me, it helps you, and also helps me move up on the algorithm. All right. With that being said, I usually like getting to the point without further ado. Number one, I like to hear other people's thoughts. Hulk Hogan. Sometimes it's better if the person who they're doing the documentary on doesn't get interviewed because Hulk Hogan is known to tell some fibs, and he's been caught in lies. Now, let's be honest. Hulk Hogan is possibly the biggest wrestling draw of all time. I know some of you are going to say Stone Cold Steve Austin, but Hogan did it for a long, long time. He was a top draw. So, again, give Hogan his props. Professional wrestling wouldn't be where it is without Hulk Hogan. Now, let's cover the documentary. The Hulk Hogan documentary, it's called Real American. It is a four-part Netflix documentary series. It was released in April 2026. And it pretty much talks about the high and low of, pretty much Hulk Hogan's life, whose real name is Terry Bollea. And, it's pretty much his final interview also before he passed on. Probably 90 days after his final interview in this documentary, he passed away. So there's another documentary floating out there also called TMZ Presents The Real Hulk Hogan. It's on Hulu. And I haven't seen that one yet. It offers a different perspective. Now, it covers, obviously, the documentary covers the rise of Hulk Hogan, also the rise of Hollywood Hulk Hogan. A lot of critics pan the documentary. It says it glosses over some of the more, controversial when he got caught saying the N word. Recorded, how he didn't want his daughter Brooke to go out with an African American, dropping the N word. His very public divorce with his wife Linda. And again, it's hard to make a good documentary. It's a lot of work. I have a couple friends that do it. They're not big time documentary makers, but they do delve in it, and it is challenging. They interviewed obviously Bret Hart for this, and Bret Hart pretty much blasts Hulk Hogan. It talks about his early life, and if one thing I found in the documentary, it seems like Hulk Hogan was searching for his parents' love. He wanted particularly his dad's approval. So if you watch that documentary, that comes up, and how he also he says some lies. Like in the past interview he talked about, well, I was going to be a bass player for Metallica. Obviously, not true. I don't believe that came up in the documentary. but they did do a good job in the first episode of covering his rise, childhood, his rise through Georgia Championship Wrestling, then the AWA, and how he trained. And it's a funny thing is Hulk Hogan admits he's not a tough guy because back in the 70s when he was coming up, wrestling was a tough guy business. And Hogan discovers that he doesn't have to be a tough guy to get into the business. And like wrestling or not, wrestling is a brutal business. It's gotten a lot better nowadays. But back then, a lot of those wrestlers traveled 350 days a year. So it covers Hulk Hogan getting into the business. Talks in the documentary, also talks about Hulkamania, WrestleMania 1, goes into talking about that. So like I said, it's a 4-part series. I'm not going to ramble on about it. Do I recommend you watch it? Sure. Is it bad? Hey, brother, what's going on? Don Andrews Show. How's it going? What do you think of the Hulk? Did you watch the Hulk Hogan documentary on Netflix? So, what I mean, 4 parts, covers his divorce. He goes over his depression, talks about, like I said, Bret Hart sounded really bitter in the documentary, man. He's not the biggest Hulk Hogan fan. Kevin Nash, I listened to him on his podcast say they interviewed me for like over 3 hours and I received 2 seconds. I would have liked to hear Kevin Nash's thoughts more because Kevin Nash was with him and really was close to him, especially on the NWO run in WCW. And we got Dan Anderson show here, and he's a retired pro wrestler, and he liked the documentary. Yeah, did I like it overall? Sure. Look, my career was in the U.S. Navy. I wasn't in pro wrestling, but I remember when I'm on active duty. I remember that NWO run, especially when he in 1996, how they won over it and how he turned heel. It covers that. I also liked, I liked how and they included his ex-wife Linda in it, and that's awesome, Don. Thanks for your wife's service. Thank you for supporting her. And if you want to chat live and give your opinion on this documentary, overall, I thought the documentary is okay. I mean, I like watching documentaries, so am I a documentary expert? No. Some people say, like critics, they could have covered his controversies more. Look, his controversies were well documented over the years. It did cover, the documentary also covered his suit against Gawker and how he won that court case against them, and pretty much Hogan, Gawker went bankrupt. After the Hulk Hogan court victory, covers behind the scenes how he got depressed, how he was depressed. Also, keep in mind the WWE was involved, and Don, that's a great point. Also, here's a good example of why critics are upset. The documentary did not hardly covered Nick Hogan's car accident, how that a Marine veteran was a friend of Nick Hogan, how he was in the passenger seat. This poor kid, not because of anything that happened. I think Nick's friend was in Afghanistan or Iraq, but Nick Hogan crashed the car. The passenger, this Marine vet, I can't remember his name. I don't remember his name, was... he ended up he's got to be taken. He's a vegetable for the rest of his life, basically. And they never covered that. I am shocked that they glossed over that. And then when there was audio of that incident when Hogan, I think, is talking to Nick in jail, Linda and Hogan and Hulk Hogan, where Hogan says God must have laid there must be some serious stuff on him, or I'm misquoting it. But I'm shocked they didn't cover that. They didn't cover the N-word controversy enough. But at the end of the day, Hulk, when you look at professional wrestling, it wouldn't be where it is right now, in my humble opinion, without Hulk Hogan. Because if you look at Hulk Hogan, was a major part of my childhood. I remember growing up. I remember January 23rd, 1984, when he beat the Iron Sheik, and that was a huge deal. Vince McMahon, just before in the early 80s, wanted to, whether you agree or not, wanted to expand the wrestling territories with buying promoters out. And Hulk Hogan, not only did he bring pro wrestling to the mainstream, he became a pop culture icon. Like him or not, pro wrestlers wouldn't be making the money they're making today without him. And Don agrees. Mr. Anderson there agrees with me. So, yes, Hulk Hogan is pop culture. I agree. Like him or not, as far as pop, he was a pop culture icon. He did make some failed movies. He did try his hand at movies. They interviewed Cody Rhodes here also, and they went over. They hit this fact that when Hogan came back and beat Ric Flair at WCW in 1994, well, he looked old. He looked this. He looked that. Of course, he looked older, but it doesn't change the fact that he was still over. Then also the documentary covered. They took a jab at the Ultimate Warrior. WrestleMania 5 in 19, I think he believes in Toronto, Canada. They covered that. Overall, I would recommend watching the documentary. It's a 4-part series on Netflix. You have Netflix. Watch it. I haven't watched the other one on Hulu. So I can't comment on that. Watch it. Like I said, some people like it, some people don't. But there's only so much you can cover in a 4-part series. And maybe they could have done more episodes or maybe not. So tell me in the comments what you think about the Netflix Hulk Hogan documentary. What do you think about it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? If I had to put a gun to my head, yeah, I like it. Yeah, they could have done. Could they have done some things differently? Sure. And yeah, I agree. They didn't hardly cover the Sting Hogan Starrcade 97 match. That was a big deal. Many people said Sting showed up out of shape for that. I don't know why they didn't cover that. Again, what about 1998 when Halloween Havoc, Hogan and the Warrior, where Hogan allegedly wanted to get his win back over the Ultimate Warrior? I say allegedly. Some say that was one of the worst executed matches of all time. So yeah, you can criticize things being glossed over. Love him, hate him. There's no doubt Hulk Hogan is a pop culture icon. There's no doubt that professional wrestling wouldn't be where it's at today without Hulk Hogan. Hogan is the biggest star ever in wrestling. So I know I'm going to hear, well, Stone Cold. Stone Cold had a great run, yes. But if you look at Stone Cold's run, it started in 1996 to really 2001, and after 2004, Stone Cold was really out of the WWE. And I love Stone Cold. The Attitude Era was great. I appreciate your subbing, Mr. Anderson. I really appreciate that. And And again, our channel, Mr. Aaron, we cover a ton of different things. So, but I am a fan of wrestling, and I did watch this documentary. So, yeah. So that's why I put Hogan ahead of Stone Cold. They say, well, Stone Cold sold the most merchandise. Well, yeah. Well, when Hulk Hogan came up, there was no internet. And Hulk Hogan, if you look at Hulk Hogan's run, a lot of people will say 1984. Actually, it's 82 when he started going to Minnesota in the AWA. And if you look at those crowds and that old footage from 1983, Hogan was already coming up. Then he did the Rocky 3. They covered that, the Rocky 3. And then Hogan's just took off. So if you look at Hulk Hogan, I would say on top from 1983. Now, this is just me. Some people are going to say 84. Until about 2002, Hulk Hogan, that's probably one of the greatest. Do I watch greatest runs? Possibly the greatest run ever, modern day wrestling. Do I watch the present WWE product? The truth is, I have a hard time watching it. Do I read about it and follow it? Yeah. I like to ask, Mr. Anderson, do you watch the present WWE product? And you can type your response there. I have a hard time watching it. I'll watch it in bits and pieces. It's just not the same. Now, this is just my opinion. I don't want to get in a rabbit trail because we're talking about Hulk Hogan, but too much of the wrestling business has been exposed. I think it's so much that people are too much of the magic, too much magic has been exposed. And I want to ask, especially Mr. Anderson, this question because he was a pro wrestler. Do you think too much of the business has been exposed? I mean, if you know how David Copperfield performed a magic trick, you might be like, wow, that's neat. But once you know the recipe, once you know it, the thrill is gone. I don't want to know how David Copperfield does it. I want to see a magic show. And the thing with pro wrestling, it's an art form, and you want to suspend. You want to think it's real. You want to get lost in the storyline, get lost in the match. The matches are supposed to tell a story, and that's why I have a hard time watching the product these days. But getting back to Hulk Hogan, there's no doubt he's the greatest biggest draw in pro wrestling ever. Love him or hate him, he's a pop icon. You can't deny what he's done for the business, and I recommend you watch the documentary, even if you have some criticisms of it. And what's sad when you at the end of the documentary, in part 4, when you see Hulk Hogan walking away in a cane, and then 90 days after that last interview, he passes away. And I guess I'll add one more thing before I go. The last time he was in LA, it talks about how he came out for Trump at the RNC, Republican National Convention, and then how he got booed in LA. And I thought that was sad. Haven't watched wrestling in years after the Attitude Era. Stone Cold, The Rock, Roddy Piper, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Triple H. Yeah, Michael, I have to agree with you on that. I have a hard time watching. Probably the Ruthless Aggression era wasn't as good as the Attitude Era, in my opinion, but I have to admit I do have a hard time watching wrestling nowadays. I'll try to watch clips and read about what's going on. I get more enjoyment out of some of the wrestling podcasts than I do the actual show, and that is pretty sad. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Please like, subscribe, share, bang the notification bell, and it helps me. It helps you. It helps push the channel up for the algorithm. And I hope you enjoyed this review. And we had a few live guests today. Thank you to Mr. Dax Anderson Show. Wherever his channel is, subscribe. My friend Mike, if he has something going on, subscribe to that. With that being said, I hope wherever you're at in the world, I hope you have a great day. God bless. Take care. And hey, remember, we love you.